Okay, beaming level 2. Now beaming is quite a difficult concept. It talks about how we group quavers and semiquavers in different time signatures. So probably a good place to start is check out the lessons, and it sort of talks about, primary beams, being what you need to do with quavers. Secondary beams. Then once you start getting into semiquavers, and these are called demi-semiquavers, we beam by beat. Okay, so you can see here in 4/4 time, these group of 4 semiquavers is 1 beat, then a second beat, then this one's a third beat, and then a fourth beat. Okay, so beaming and grouping based on beats. It's got some examples here about incorrect beaming and how it can be corrected. What's incorrect here, we're crossing over the second and third beat here in the middle of the bar. So in fact, that crotchet there needs to be separated into these 2 quavers and tied together, and then that quaver will be joined to this quaver. The second quaver in the tie will be joined to this quaver. So basically, you're trying to put it into a format where it looks as clearly where it looks as easy to follow looking at the beat as possible. Does that make sense? It follows the beat as clearly as possible. Alright, so there's some examples in 6/8 time. More things on grouping and beaming. 4/4 time. Oh, this is an important thing in 4/4 time. There's 2 options for 4/4 time for the quavers. It is quite acceptable to beam 4 quavers like this as 1 minim, or you can beam them in pairs. That's pretty much one of the only special exceptions. By the way, notice we're never talking about beaming when we're talking about anything that's greater than a quaver. So crotchets, minims, or semibreves, they're just not included in the discussion. That's just got nothing to do with those notes. All right, anyway, let's get into some of these and just see what we have to do. We have to do level 2 at the moment. So, crotchet minim, don't have to do anything there. Next bar, 2 single quavers. So what are we going to do with that? And as you noted, as you can see, as I start to hover around, it gives me options, all these different kinds of options, right? Basically, when you're beaming, you start at the top and then you work down depending on if it's a quaver, semiquaver, demi-semiquaver, and that kind of thing. These are 2 quavers, so when we beam them, we're going to beam them just straight across at the top. Are they forming a beat by themselves? So there's the first beat. These 2 would be the second beat, and there's the third beat. So yes, it would be wise to group those 2 together. 2 beat note there, we don't have to do anything to that. So you don't have to add anything to that. Looks like they allow you that you might be able to, but that would be incorrect. So 2 beat note at the start, we can leave it alone. There's the third beat here at the end with these 2 quavers, so we can just join them up. And then the reverse of that, the last bar would make sense. So that is the correct answer. 6/8 time. Now in 6/8 time, we group by dotted crotchet. So in other words, we have to have the equivalent of a dotted crotchet, and then another dotted crotchet, a dotted crotchet, dotted crotchet, dotted crotchet. So a dotted crotchet equals 3 quavers, and as you can see at the start here, we've got 3 separate quavers, so they would all be beamed together. Then we've got a crotchet and a quaver by itself. Now this quaver, because there's a bar line here, we can't join this quaver to the next bar, and in fact it doesn't even let us, so that's fine. Will we join it to the crotchet here? Well, if we do, then it suddenly looks like 2 quavers. So no, this little quaver is actually left on its own. 3 quavers here. Once again, we can beam these 3 together, and this last part here is just a reverse of this, so probably don't need to explain that again. This is the same as the first bar, so I can join that. And then in the last bar here, we've got 6 quavers. So once again, we're going to join them as a dotted crotchet, 3 quavers. And then another dotted crotchet, so another 3 quavers joined separately together like that. Okay, that's the correct answer. Alright, so in this one, first 2 quavers and then a crotchet we don't do anything to. Next 4 quavers. Remember, in 4/4 time we are allowed to beam 4 quavers together as long as they are on the first beat or the third beat. You must not beam 4 quavers if they cross from the second beat across into the third beat. And then finally, nothing to do in this bar, just these 2 quavers here just need to have a beam, and that should be fine. You can quite easily in this bar see our beats, so there's beat 1, there's beat 2, and then the minim makes up beat 3 and 4 in the time signature of 4/4. Okay, 4/4 time again. Now once again in this one we can beam in a group of 4 to start with, and then this would be just a pair. But just to test the program out a little bit, let's just see what happens if we do just beam them as pairs. So another good rule to sort of help you with this concept is in 4/4, 3/4 or 2/4 time, beam your quavers and anything lower in pairs. Oh, it's not accepting it. Right, well, so okay, so they're contradicting their own. They're contradicting their own advice that they gave in their information. So I guess they're saying that if you've got a group of 4 on the first beat or on the third beat, you must beam that group of 4 as 4 quavers all together, but only in the time signature of 4/4 time. There we go, good lesson to learn there. So this one's an easy one, there, and there. 6/8 time, so yes, so now we're in 6/8 time. Any of the 6/8 or 9/8 or 12/8s, we will beam groups of 3 quavers together. I mean, this quaver and crotchet is the equivalent of 3 quavers. And then at the end here, we'll be beaming these ones together. So we'll probably get all 3 and 3 beamed like this. Why don't we beam these 2 together? Well, because there's a crotchet and a quaver. That is one group of 3 quavers, and there's a quaver and a crotchet here. That's another group of 3 quavers, which is the correct way to beam for 6/8 time. All right.